this video, I'm going to show you the 5-step process to making lead magnets that generate thousands of leads per month. This is going to be the best lead magnet training anywhere on the internet because it's going to show you a few things that no one else ever talks about, but will make your lead magnets 100 times better. So with that being said, let's get started. Hey there, so I have Miro board open here and there's going to be 5 main parts to this, and each of them are very important, and if you don't nail all 5 of them, your lead magnet is not going to really get you many clients and you're kind of just wasting your time. So I'm going to go over each of these 5 parts and a few little bullet points in each, and I have some good examples for you watching to show you how this actually might work in the real world instead of just some theory. So the first step we need to do is we need to choose our lead magnets. We need to break them down into categories. They need to cover every part of our service, and our main goal should be to make a masterclass level document for each. That's the mindset that we want to have when we go into this. So to break it down into all of these categories, let's just put some arrows here to show you what I mean. So if we were having a YouTube agency that helps business owners get more leads from YouTube, let's just say that, because we have to choose something. The different parts or the different categories of the service would be, your camera and lighting, your sound and microphone, your titles, your thumbnails, your YouTube SEO, your video ideas, your scripts, all of that kind of stuff, right? And this is very important to understand because if you want to get someone to hire you, all of these, let's call them objections, must be addressed, right? If this person is the business owner here, they're thinking I agree that YouTube would probably be good for me, but look at all of the stuff that I have to take care of and it's weighing on them. And if you ever find someone doesn't have a reason to do something, this is where you get on a sales call with them and they say that, this sounds good, and then they just ghost you. This is usually the case where, you are the expert. You know how to do all of these stuff, but they don't. And that is often lost on people when they're trying to do sales. You know how to do all this stuff. That's why you're in business to begin with. But, they're not, right? They don't know how to do all this stuff. So if we have a lead magnet for every category of our service, for our camera, for our titles, for our thumbnails, that's what it says underneath the lead magnet icons, and we solve every single one of these problems, it just becomes very natural for them to say, okay, this person knows what they're doing, I might as well hire this guy or this girl. Versus, if you don't have any lead magnets at all, they're just thinking how hard it is. They're not thinking of you at all, really. They're just thinking of, look at how many steps I have to do and I don't know if I can do it or not. So this is why we need to have lead magnets, and this is why you would also break them down into categories. So a lot of people will have something like this where they have one lead magnet, and there's a couple big problems with that. The first big problem in this situation, or in this graphic here, the lead magnet that the person created was to help them solve up their camera and lighting. And that's great, that's a step, but there's going to be a certain percentage of the market who doesn't have that problem. And as such, they're basically not going to capture that segment of leads. The second more important problem is that, just because you have helped them solve one thing, that's great, but all of these other problems still exist and they're not grateful to you for helping to solve this. Right? They're wondering who can help them solve all of the rest of the problems. And that's a big situation as well. When you think it went well on a sales call and then they just get ghosted because they're looking for someone else to help them solve all of these problems, basically doing what you should have done by having all these lead magnets. So all of these lead magnets, for example, I run a business called 1000x Leads, and I have my lead magnets right here for every step of my service, for example. So part of 1000x Leads is the newsletter, the content, the conversion mechanisms, the offers, the standards and culture, the productivity system, the paid ad funnels, the partnerships, the cold email. So that's an example in real time of where I've actually done what I'm saying in this video, And this is very important to help you actually get clients. So we want to break it down into these categories. So if you are doing, let's say, email marketing, could be deliverability, could be subject lines, could be copywriting, could be design, could be setup, could be flows, could be, broadcasts or newsletters. Like, those are just some examples of how it might work for an e-commerce email marketing company. But the important thing is whether there's 20 categories or 2, you got to have a lead magnet for them all. And that's very inconvenient when you have a service that has a bunch of different subcategories, but no one said it was going to be convenient or easy. It's how do you make the best lead magnet? How do you get the most clients? How do you make the most money? Right? And if you thought that was going to be easy or going to be done in 45 minutes, you were sorely mistaken. So the key here, and to go with point number 3, is you kind of want to put your heart and soul into these lead magnets. You want to tell them everything that you possibly know and that everything that they need to know. Because a lot of people will do something like this, not like this, but they'll just imagine these are different parts of what they need to know. They'll give them I'll give them a little bit, and then they will have to hire me to get the rest, and that will make them want to hire me. Not true at all. The exact opposite, in fact. If you ever said this before or thought this before, or you currently believe this, it's a tough one for you, to be honest. People, including this person in this fictional scenario, don't even want to do it themselves or even know how to do it themselves. They want to know that you know how to do it yourself. And if you can convince them of that, they will hire you. If you can't convince them of that, or you don't do a good job of convincing them of that, they're not going to hire you. And people can't read your mind. If your lead magnets are basic, they're going to think that you and your knowledge are basic, and that's not going to be good for you in terms of getting clients. I can tell you that. So the step number 1 is choosing the lead magnets. It's always breaking it down into categories that cover every part of your service, and then going all out, making a master class level document for each. And this is so important because if you make a shit lead magnet, they're not going to be appreciative of you. They're going to think you're an idiot. And that's just the truth of it. And that's lost on a lot of people who either don't really have much brain power, or they just have such a misunderstanding of how the world works that, this isn't going to work for them. They need to switch to what I'm saying here. And, if you're watching and feel like I'm insulting you, probably a little bit if your thought process is the one I described, but it's just one of those things that you have to learn, and hopefully by watching this video, you have done so. The next step is the first 60 seconds of the lead magnet. So kind of an interesting situation is people might download your lead magnet from your content or from your ads or whatever, but even then, they're not that invested in it. And especially if they've never heard of you before, especially that's with content, they might be a bit more invested in it. If they downloaded it from a YouTube description, like people download mine. But if especially with ads where they probably don't even know who you are, probably don't even remember the name of the page they clicked on to get to the ads, just because they downloaded it doesn't mean they're going to be using it or reading it. And this is very important because it's very important because if we don't nail the first 60 seconds, 70, 80, 90% of people are going to consume the lead magnet. And if they don't consume the lead magnet, that's kind of defeats the whole purpose, right? So I have a lead magnet here, and I'll show you that. But in the first 60 seconds, and I literally mean set a timer for 60 seconds and then read it out loud and see where you get. You got to have just the image and the headlines in these. You don't want to have starting with the headline and the bullet points and have tons of information. You just want to have it, like this, where the headlines tell the story and just keep going, at least for the first 60 seconds. After the first 60 seconds are over, then you could just do it normally, a lot more along the lines of what you'd expect. But so let's get this going here, and I'm going to actually read this. I'm about to show you the sales process we use for my agency to close over 2,000 high-ticket clients in 2023 and scale to over $900,000 per month in revenue. These clients were all between $2,500 and $15,000 per month ticket size and were in the e-commerce stores, which is one of the toughest niches to close because it's very competitive. My name is Matthew Larson, and I'm the founder of 1000x Leads. 1000x Leads is a B2B lead generation program that has 175 clients in over 35 countries and 120 different niches. These clients range from 10K per month all the way up to multi-8-figure businesses, and they're doing $265 million per year in combined revenue. Today I'm going to show you the sales process that has worked for me, my clients in 1000x Leads, and for you if you implement it. So whether you are a beginner trying to get your first client or an expert trying to get your next 50, I promise you that if you simply copy this process, you will increase your close rate and get more clients. See, that's essentially where I got to in the actual, the timer's going off here. So that's where I got to within 1 minute. And you should see, this is, basically, let's put another slide here and let's just make it black just to differentiate or show that's where we got, or we could go to red, whatever. So basically this is what if we deleted the rest of this entire stuff here, this is the first impression. This is the intro. This is the hook, if you think about it in terms of a YouTube video or something like that. And if you don't really like what's in the hook, then your lead magnet, this is, all people are going to give you, and if it's not good up to this point, it's not going to be good enough. And that's why we need to have it, the first 60 seconds, we got to have some authority building. We got to have, the desired results. We got to have all of that kind of stuff. And I can make this even better by, reading slightly faster. I was reading a little bit slow there, but also, if I could have gotten to number 35 here, that would have made it a lot better, in my opinion, in the first 60 seconds. So I'm not going to change it here because, this is a live video, or I'm recording this, and why would I do that? But if I was trying to make this better, I might get rid of some of these slides here. This one might be different. I just might get rid of some of these, right? So I literally mean that people don't care enough to read. I literally mean, title and photo in every single slide to maximize the readability of it. So you can just go something like this. I literally mean that set a 60-minute timer and start reading. And this is going to make your lead magnets not better necessarily in terms of quality, but it's going to make 200, 300, 400, 500 times as much, slides consumed, if that's what you want to call it. It's going to increase the volume of how much people read it by just so much that it's such a necessary step for any lead magnet. So very, very important, because this is going to be your first impression, especially from ads. And if you want to scale your lead generation a lot, you're going to have to use ads at some point. So you need to make the most of it, because the ads are, those cost money. It's one thing if someone doesn't read your lead magnet when you're getting it through, YouTube video or from a LinkedIn post or something, because that's more or less free. But when you're doing it through ads, you're going to pay $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, who knows, to get someone to download the lead magnet. And if you're paying $3 to get someone to download a lead magnet and only, 1 in every 5 people read it, that's $15 to get someone to read it. And that changes the math significantly versus, maybe you can get 50% of people to read it with this way. That's $6. So it's 250% better is what I'm trying to say. The next test you want is the $50 test. And it's pretty simple. It's, would you pay, even if this lead magnet is free, would you pay $50 to read it? And if the answer is no, then it's not good enough. Maybe you can get some of your friends to, be honest with you. Maybe you could, do some self-reflection. Maybe you could post it on the internet to see some feedback. But would you pay $50 for it? And if not, then it's not good enough. A lot of people think that their lead magnet's free, so they can just half-ass it, or they could just not put tons of effort into it. It might be free in terms of cost, but someone has gone to your website, downloaded it, looked for your email, spent X amount of time reading it. If they get paid $100 per hour, which a lot of business owners will get, maybe even more, and they've spent 30 minutes screwing around with it, that's $50 in terms of time. And like I said before, if your lead magnet's not good, it's not like they're going to just move on. They're actually going to start actively hating you. And that's absolutely true. And if someone hates you, I don't think they're going to buy from you. They see someone downloads your lead magnet. Oh yeah, Matt's lead magnet was shit. They're going to tell, 3 friends, and those 3 friends are now going to have a negative opinion of you. You need to get that, word of mouth marketing in your favor. And we do that by 2 main reasons. The 2 things that will really get you to this $50 test are templates, frameworks, and examples. Everybody loves those. Those are very helpful because they save them time and they can get a better result, as well as key insights that you can't get anywhere else. So take this video, for example. Wouldn't say it's a lead magnet, but a lot of this stuff, if you had actual data saying that if you made your, 60 seconds like this versus like this, and 250% more people read it when it was version A versus version B, like that's a key insight that's not easily readily available. That's a key insight you can't get anywhere else. So if you've been in business for a while and you have this stuff where that you can either back it up with just common sense or actual data, like that will make your lead magnet very, very strong. The templates, the frameworks, the examples. So if you have something like this, where I just made this for one of my email marketing lead magnets, this is not a standalone graphic. You kind of have to explain it a little bit, but something like this where they can just save it and just execute based on it is a great framework. If you have, and then I have in my lead magnet, I have examples for each of these stuff. So just so they can see it. And that's just a very nice way to do it, where you have the templates, you have the frameworks, you have the examples, you might have a key insight or 2, and that is going to get you to the $50, or get you to pass the $50 test. It's very, very important. The next is the useful test. And the first question is the useful test. Like, is this actually useful? And that sounds like a strange question because, it's a lead magnet, but I see about, I don't want to exaggerate here. I say maybe about 60 new lead magnets that people send to me for feedback in 1000X Leads on a weekly basis. And the answer to this for 90% of them is no. It's just, there's nothing that you could get in that lead magnet that isn't common sense or can be found with a Google search or basically any YouTube video. And is this actually useful is a good frame or a good question to ask yourself. I used to say, is this actionable, which is pretty good too, but useful is even better in my opinion. So is this lead magnet useful? Can I take this lead magnet and get a result based on it? I guess that's a very good way that you could think of it as well. So if we go to here, like, if this was in my lead magnet, would this be useful? Like, I would say yes. It's a framework, like we said earlier, because these aren't standalone things. These are all interconnected. But if you want to, run a Facebook ad funnel, a good Facebook ad funnel is a group funnel. So that would go your ad to your email and phone number. The thank you page promotes the group, whether that's on Facebook or not. Get an email flow and an SMS flow to join the group. They're in the group. You're posting content, running retargeting ads, email flows, appointment setters, trying to book sales calls. Like, this is how you do a group funnel. Versus just telling them to do a group funnel without having something like this is going to be not as effective, let's just say. So the next step is there, or I guess there should be, are there action steps for each part? So if I had a paid ad lead magnet that went over the type of funnels, the group funnel, the VSL funnel, the webinar funnel, the newsletter funnel, the paid product funnel, is there actual like step by step plan that they could just follow? So, okay, here's number 1. You need to set up your email and phone, your CRM or your email marketing tool. Step 2, you need to set up this Facebook group. Step 3, you need to set up the landing page and the the opt-in page and the thank you page. The next is, okay, you got to redirect them all. Okay, now you got to have an appointment setter flow. Step 7 is putting up some retargeting ads. Step 8 is making these email flows. Step 9 is, you get the picture, right? Again, if we go back to what I said here, where people don't really want to necessarily know, or don't want to do it themselves, they're busy, and they don't even necessarily want to know how to do it themselves, where they just want to know that you know how to do it. So you're not, in a lot of cases, like giving away too much, because that's a weird but common concern. You're just making it seem like a lot more work than it actually is, but it's logical and it looks like you actually have a plan. And when you do it, it does the exact opposite of what most people would think, where, okay, they're just going to take it and do it themselves. They're not going to take it and do it themselves. They have a life and a job, and that's why they're hiring someone. So give them the templates, the frameworks, the examples, and the key insights to like show that you're an expert and to help communicate complex concepts. Make sure it's actually useful. I guess that's kind of I don't know how you would describe that, but we're always run it through the is this actually useful test. Are there action steps for each part? So if you're doing 10 different parts, there should be step-by-step action for each part. And in that action step, is there at least something they can implement themselves within 24 hours? Because, this might be a 25-step plan, but is there something, then like clearly label it like quick win or something? Is there something they can do it themselves to get some sort of small result? Because if they follow your advice and get some small result, that is also going to make it 100 times more likely that they become a client than not. You've shown them examples, you've shown them some key insights, some frameworks that are actually useful. You've shown them the exact plan, and you even gave them like something they can do themselves to prove it. Like, who do you think's lead magnet is going to be better? Those half-assed lead magnets that we've all downloaded, or something like this? And yes, it's going to take time to create, but you're smart. You didn't expect, to make millions of dollars and not put any work. Or maybe you did, but that's something that you got to decide for yourself. And then the readable test is something that's very important as well. So let me open one of my lead magnets here. Lets me open actually several so you can see that I'm actually do what I'm telling you to do here. It's always important to me that you know that I actually do what I tell you to do, because there's a lot of people out there that don't, and we won't comment on them today, but it's just one of those things. So let me open up all my 12 lead magnets, probably excessive, but so this is kind of taken care of. The first 60 seconds, headline and image, makes it very readable and gets them invested, draw it in the first 60 seconds. Oops, I forgot to change this one. White background plus dark text. The next is there one image and idea per headline? Because you're going to have a lot of people who just like make things. And there's like 50 different, like this is Gamma Docs here, so there's different slides. It'd be the same with Google Slides or, whatever. But a lot of people will just combine like tons and tons of different, ideas and information and graphics into one slide. If whatever your headline is, there should only be one idea. If there's 3 ideas, it needs to be 3 slides. Very, very important for the readability, because it doesn't matter how great the, masterclass level is. It doesn't matter how great the first 60 seconds are. It doesn't matter if it passed the $50 test or not, or the usefulness test. If it doesn't pass the readability test and it's just a big wall of text that no one in their right mind is going to read, everything else is for nothing, basically. So whatever you have here, like it has to be different, slide for every single idea. And then you also need to have one image or graphic or photo or whatever you want to call it for every single slide. Just because if you don't, like, it's going to be less interesting. They're going to be less readable. It's going to just not be as engaging. And remember what I said before, like, it doesn't end when we make the lead magnet. It doesn't end when someone downloads a lead magnet. It ends when they consume enough of our lead magnets and view us as an expert and think we're the best ever to where they buy from us. If that doesn't happen, like, it's not going to matter how good our lead magnets are or aren't. And having these photos like that is a big part of that. So it's just very important to have the first 60 seconds optimized like that. We went over that earlier, so I won't go again. One image per idea or headline, and then we want to have a white background and dark text. We don't want to have some crazy ass, colorful lead magnet. Trust me. Like, the best websites are white background with dark text for a reason. It's how you naturally read, and if you just make it crazy, and I'll show you an example of what not to do here, it's going to be a worse lead magnet. And that's just even this isn't too crazy compared to some of the ones that you could do. It's going to be a much worse lead magnet. It's harder on the eyes. People are less likely to read it. It does not look more professional. Trust me. Some people might say, well, that looks more professional. It does not. We need to have, nice font, nice light background, nice dark text. And that's going to make the best lead magnet possible. So to recap, because we are at the end of the video here, making a great lead magnet comes down to 5 main parts: choosing the right topics to make lead magnets of, making a great first impression in the first 60 seconds, make sure it passes the $50 test and the usefulness test and the readable test. And if it does all of these 5 things, you are going to probably get a lot of clients. And that's just the fact of the matter. So I hope this video was helpful. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next one.